You are Locked On Pistons Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Detroit, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What a start to the 5-game road trip. How about that for your Detroit Pistons? They topped the Houston Rockets 107-96, move above 500 again, 22-21 on the season. How about 12 road wins for the Detroit Pistons? We'll break it all down, how it happened. It was a dominant road win. Cade Cunningham was huge in the second half, and ultimately we'll tie a bow on it with our studs and duds. That's what's coming up on a Locked On Pistons Postcast. I am your host, Jake Riepma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma, and this is Locked On Sports Detroit. It's your post-game destination for all things Detroit sports with live post-game reactions. So thanks as always for making us your post-game destination when the final buzzer sounds. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, and of course, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Shout out to the everydayers that tune into both the Locked On Pistons Postcast and Locked On Pistons Daily with Ku Kahil. Make sure you're checking that out. And if you wouldn't be so kind to subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit, we're getting closer and closer to 2,000 subscribers. And for that, we appreciate it. You're appreciated. But how about this one this afternoon? And before we go any further, don't forget that your favorite podcast has a newsletter. That's right. Introducing the Locked On Pistons daily newsletter. It's your one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage, and it's delivered right to your inbox. You got to sign up for free. That's right. Sign up for free at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On Pistons newsletter. And today's show, that's right, it's made possible and brought to you by Prize Picks. The most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports is on Prize Picks. Can't forget about that, my friends. Make sure you use our code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. No need to win to get the bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Make sure you download the app. Prize Picks, use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. It's the perfect time to join, and Prize Picks lets you run your game. So how did the Pistons figure out a way, which, by the way, a afternoon game today for Martin Luther King Day, I think is important to note all of that represents. So very, very much an honor to play on Martin Luther King Day for the Detroit Pistons. So that being said, they represented well by showing out with the victory over a really good Houston Rockets team. And look, that's a Houston Rockets team that is second in the Western Conference, a stacked Western Conference at that. It's a team that plays really well at home, the Rockets, and it's a team that is certainly capable of running you out of the gym. And the Pistons just said, not today. And it was from the very jump. I mean, they came out with energy. They played really well in the opening quarter. Defensively, they turned up the pressure. I thought that was a huge component of this game, and really consistent throughout was the defensive pressure and urgency that the Pistons played with. Outscored the Houston Rockets 40-29 in the opening quarter. Now, the second quarter, it's the NBA. Everyone's going to make a run. But in that second quarter, you saw the Rockets come back. They had a 12-0 run at one point, tied at halftime. And then in the third quarter, 33-23, the Pistons grab a 10-point lead, thanks largely to the play of Cade Cunningham. And look, Cade wasn't perfect. No, we're going to go over all that today later on in the show. But he finishes with 32 points. He was +9. And a lot of turnovers, sure, but he had 10 turnovers. But that being said, he was dynamic with the basketball. He was 3 of 5 from the long line, 12 of 22 from the floor. And if you heard his post-game interview, he just talked about this team not being ready to go today and not being outworked. Nobody was going to outwork Cade Cunningham and the Detroit Pistons, and their play on the floor was certainly a testament to that. Also worth noting, Jalen Duren, double-double, 16 points. He played a lot better today, +16. And defensively, 14 rebounds for Duren as well, with 6 of them being offensively. Both Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart played well against Alpi Sengun, and that was huge in the sense that the Rockets just really never could get going in this one. And there's a lot of different players that can beat you for the Houston Rockets, and they limited each and every one of those players to a less than stellar performance in a game that you would say not really anyone for the Rockets played up to their caliber because of the defensive pressure and the defensive effort that was sustained by the Pistons throughout the course of this one. I mean, Fred VanVleet led the way with 20 points, and he was minus 11 from the floor, 7 of 15 shooting. Jalen Green, minus 22. And I mentioned Şengün, he was minus 8, really held in check with 11 points and only 8 rebounds, both of those well below his season average. 17 points for Amen Thompson, his brother. So that being said, the Pistons get the upper edge this afternoon in a really, really nice bounce back win after that brief 2-game skid. And again, you try to figure out a team and what this team is capable. And JV Bickerstaff said this in the post game, and I think I agree with him that it's almost like this team thrives on their back against the wall. They thrive with the Detroit versus everybody mentality and the mantra. And so it was really good to see that for the way that you get the disappointing end to the homestand with the loss to Phoenix, but then to roll the sleeves up, go on the road, and figure out a way to get that road trip off on the right foot with a big win over, again, this is a really good team. I mean, this is a team in Houston, make no mistake about it, at second in the Western Conference that people are making note of around the National Basketball Association. And you put this film on, and the Pistons are not only with them step by step, but exceeding in their play as well. So I was really impressed with that. I mentioned the play of the defense. I thought that was really, really impressive. The way that it was sustained all the way throughout. And some of that is the matchup too with the Pistons versus the Rockets. You know, we've seen the Pistons at times struggle against big guys that can stretch the floor and shoot the three. The Rockets didn't have that today. I think that helps, but at the same time, when you give guys like Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart the favorable matchup like they had today, and they go out and take it and they earn it, that's what this team is capable of. That third quarter is one of the best quarters of play we've seen from the Pistons really throughout the whole season. I mean, against a good team, outscoring the Rockets 33-23 and taking control of this game. I think that goes to show what this team is capable of when they're at their absolute best. Team-wise, the fast break points, 28 fast break points for the Pistons. And you heard Greg Kessler and George Blaha talking about this, but when you can get out and run and get some of those easy buckets and the way the Pistons showed that they're capable of playing in the fast break was impressive with 28 points. I mean, that's an 11-point advantage over the Rockets, who had 17 fast break points. So you're going to have some easy buckets when you can get out and run in transition, and good offense leading to effective or good defense rather leading to effective offense in transition with the fast break points and the hustle plays as well. I made note of this, that Tim Hardaway Jr. late in that game where it was still, of course, not quite in the balance, but the Pistons had the lead. Tim Hardaway Jr. draws a charge, and it was his 15th drawn charge of the season. That's second in the NBA. Shout out to Special K for that one, which goes to show that this is a team that was willing to make the sacrifices and make those winning plays in the half court, and that allowed them to ultimately earn the win. It was a lot of winning plays tonight that you saw the Pistons end up on the winning side with the win over the Rockets, 107-96. So huge win. If you heard the interview afterwards, Cade Cunningham, Malik Beasley, people are excited. That's what you love. Vote Cade Cunningham as an all-star. He certainly deserves it. I think today the all-star votes count triple. So that's pretty exciting. But we're going to talk about this huge second half, this big third quarter. We'll also take your comments, and an interesting observation I had that I think you might be on board with as well. So don't go anywhere. This edition of the Locked On Pistons Postcast is just getting started on a live Locked On Pistons Postcast here on Locked On Sports Detroit. This episode of the Locked On Pistons Postcast is brought to you by Prize Picks. The most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports is on Prize Picks. You got to join the Prize Picks community. There's so many of us because it's fun and it is exciting. Adds a lot of sizzle to the game viewing experience. Basketball season is heating up, and there's no better way to get real money action while watching your favorite NBA players battle it out in the stars with Prize Picks. So whether you're a diehard fan or you just love some friendly competition, Prize Picks makes it fun, easy to turn your basketball knowledge into cash. Here's how it works. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. If you think LeBron's going to drop 30, man, like today, Cade Cunningham dropping 32, maybe somebody is going to get more than 8 assists. Prize Picks lets you make your predictions and put your money where your mouth is in just 60 seconds. Only takes 60 seconds, and voila, all of a sudden you got a whole new viewing experience. I use it all the time for my NBA action. I enjoy watching the NBA, and I'll sometimes sprinkle a little bit of more, a little bit of less, whatever I'm feeling at that time. I know the Mavs played earlier today. I had a little more on Kyrie Irving. I had more on Cade Cunningham. I had the less on Jalen Green. So really good stuff going on there on Prize Picks. And don't forget about the flex play option. Even if one of your picks doesn't hit, you can still double your money. And once you hit that money, you can get it fast, sometimes as quick as 15 minutes. It's the best way to keep the game exciting. So now's the perfect time to join. Download the app, use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, no need to win to get the bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. The Pistons start the 5-game road trip in style with a win over the Houston Rockets. A final score, a comfortable win at that, 107-96. Pistons withstood the Rockets' best runs in the fourth quarter and were able to put it in cruise control down the stretch. Before we get into Cade's huge second half performance and how he was able to help will this team to victory, let's get into your comments. We appreciate the everydayers. Demetrius McNeil, 2 days removed from losing to the Commanders, Ben Johnson is the new head coach of the Chicago Bears. Your reaction to this? I know it's Locked On Pistons postcast, but hey, that's the beauty of the live comment button. And I'll tell you this, my reaction, I'm not surprised. I am sad. I'm still grieving with that Lions loss against the Commanders in the NFC divisional round. You got to check out the Locked On Lions post-game episode that we had, one of our best episodes on this channel, but still very, very sad. And as far as Ben Johnson, look, Dan Campbell knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. This is what happens when your team's really good. Your coordinators go on to play or to coach elsewhere because other teams want them. So the first hit is Ben Johnson to the Bears. I'm sure Aaron Glenn will be a head coach in the coming days as well. Demetrius McNeil, what a third quarter for soon-to-be all-star. Your reaction to Ben Johnson as head coach, I already gave that. But yeah, I think Cade's third quarter is where they always talk about where the game changed, and that was in the third quarter. It was a tie game at halftime, and man, you love the way the Pistons came out of the locker room with energy, with the will to win, and that starts with their leader, Cade Cunningham, and that is how they were successful today. So I love it, love Cade, and love seeing this Pistons team thrive. 22 wins. Who had that on their bingo card for this season? Certainly not me. I thought that really collectively as a team, defensively is where you saw how well this team played. Jalen Duren's a guy that I've been critical of on this program, and he deserves a lot of credit. And right on cue, I see the comment there from Rock Howard, great win today. He also adds Duren played well. Indeed, he did. He had some really, really nice plays defensively, 14 points as well. When you talk about his ability to rebound as well for the Pistons, and Isaiah Stewart too. Again, collectively, those two guys were really good. Ron Holland, glad he's healthy. Went off with that kind of bum knee for a second, but was right back into the game. But with Jalen Duren plus 16, and yes, I'm sorry, he had 16 points, 14 rebounds. That's what it was. So he was in plus territory. And Isaiah Stewart, not as effective, -5 with just the 6 points and 8 rebounds. But that being said, I thought as a collective unit, the interior and the front court of this Pistons team was a lot better today. Beasley was 17 points. He was 5 of 12 from the floor, 3 of 9 from the long line. And Sasser, I thought Sasser did some good things tonight. 8 points, just 13 minutes. But while he was out there, he was plus 2. All right, we'll take a couple of more comments, and Rock Howard right on point. I think Rock and I we're on the same wavelength, as he also said Sasser had some big time minutes too. Indeed, he did. But that's the depth of this Detroit Pistons team, which feels really good because JB Bickerstaff as a coach, and I thought it was interesting, he and Blaha even mentioned this, he and Ime Udoka didn't really have a lot of pleasantries exchanged post-game. It was just the quickest handshake you will see and on to the next one. But hey, when you're winning and you upset a team on their home floor, then sometimes the head coach doesn't want to stick around for a lot of the handshake and the dapping and everything else that goes on afterwards. But that being said, just a really fun game for the Pistons to get back in the win column, to start the road trip on the right foot, and with Martin Luther King Day, with it being an afternoon tilt. Cade talked about it. He sounded pretty excited that he's got the family there. They're going to go out tonight, and hopefully this is just a good way to start this road trip for the Pistons moving forward, and they'll continue to be road warriors and continue to keep it moving on the road. And I don't see any reason why. When you look at that upcoming schedule, it's going to be a tough road trip, no doubt about it. Up next, the Hawks. That's a Wednesday night tip-off. And then you've got the Magic in Orlando on Saturday before the road trip continues in Cleveland on Monday, and in Indianapolis against the Pacers the following Wednesday, the 29th. That's a 7 o'clock tip-off. But we'll be with you for all those games on Locked On Sports Detroit. Always enjoy the post-game coverage. Make sure you subscribe and follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma. Always tweeting back and forth as well. All right, we'll take one more breaks and get your studs and duds in the comment. Who's a stud for you out there for the Detroit Pistons this evening? Who is a dud? And we will discuss that next. I want to hear from you, and appreciate everybody tuning in on a live Locked On Pistons postcast here on Locked On Sports Detroit. This episode of the Locked On Pistons postcast is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. FanDuel app is easy to navigate. I use it all the time. And the variety of bets keep the game exciting, whether you're into parlays, anytime touchdowns, or the money lines and the spreads, the meat and potato bets. There's no waiting around. It's all instantly at FanDuel.com. You can also track your favorite players' stats, look at live play-by-plays, all the good stuff on America's #1 sportsbook right there at FanDuel.com. So whether you're betting your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Studs and duds time on the Locked On Pistons postcast. Always a pleasure to be with you. And let me know your studs and duds. First stud, easy, Cade Cunningham, 32 points, +9 for the game. And again, I'm going to harp on the 10 turnovers. I know Cade's going to harp on that as well. He's got to be a little bit better with the basketball. But the good far outweighs the bad when you look at the impact he had on this game, especially in that third quarter, in that second half, and leading the way offensively for the Detroit Pistons. He was efficient as well. 3 of 5 from the long line, 12 of 22 from the floor overall. He did not miss at the free throw line, 5 of 5. And there's no doubt about it, this team feeds off of Cade Cunningham. So when he's playing that well, there's a different aura, a different energy about this team. And it's a perfect example of taking down the second best team in the Western Conference, the Houston Rockets, 107-96. It's a good matchup for the Pistons. They played them really close earlier this year, with the Rockets squeaking out a victory early in the season at LCA. But man, it's great to see the revenge on the Houston Rockets, and for the Pistons to stick with such a good team and earn the win, 107-96. I also want to give a stud to Jalen Duren, because I've been critical of him, and this was a much, much better game for him, the 16 points and the 14 boards, but also the way he impacts this game defensively and the way he shut down Şengün for the Rockets. He shut down, collectively helped shut down a really potent offense with a number of guys that can beat you, and to hold them to 96 points is a testament to the defense. So let's go ahead and give a stud to the entire Pistons team defense, and utilizing that defense to turn it into 28 fast break points. They were forcing steals. They were forcing tough shots. Overall, I thought the shooting percentage said a lot, where the Rockets shoot 39% from the floor and just 28% from the 3-point line, where the Pistons were 37% from the 3-point line, a little bit better, 10 to 27 from the long line. So good stuff all the way around from the Detroit Pistons. You love to see that. And if you've got some studs and duds, let me know in the comments, because I believe we've got one more comment to get to from R1VJ4. About time we get a more frequent 30-plus game score. Too consistent would be great. Yeah, and right now with Jaden Ivey out, you're lacking that second scorer, which will be interesting to see what the Pistons try to do at the deadline, or if they go internally with or more in the front court, with maybe adding a big and adding more help and support, where Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart and that front court could use some. I thought Simone Fontecchio struggled a little bit today, and his role as a guy that's needs to help this team off the bench. Just 12 minutes for him, no points. He was 0 for 2 from the long line overall. So, and I think the Pistons bench as a unit played pretty well. You get 17 points off the bench for Malik Beasley, and 8 points for Sasser. And it's not always about points, but they came in and sustained the effort for a decent amount there, a decent stretch in the third quarter, where the Rockets were trying to make that run and they just were unable to. And again, that's a testament to the collective effort from the Detroit Pistons in this one, earning the 107-96 win. If I'm a Rockets fan, I'm probably giving a dud to Jalen Green. He was not overly impressive with just 19 points, minus 22 for the game. He was only 8 of 21 from the floor. I talked about Şengün and how the Pistons shut him down, well below his season average, both in points and rebounds. He was minus 8, just 11 points and 8 rebounds. So altogether, the studs were for the Detroit Pistons. The duds were for the Houston Rockets, and that's the way we like it. So week is off to a good start. Martin Luther King Day. Happy Martin Luther King Day. I remember him. Happy to have everybody along on this Locked On Pistons postcast. And even though the weekend didn't go so well for the city of Detroit, and by not so well, I mean about as bad as it possibly could have. 4 huge games between the Lions, 2 for the Red Wings, and 1 for the Pistons. The city of Detroit was 0 for 4 on the weekend. So good to get this week started off on the right foot and try to move on from that disappointing exit in the NFL playoffs. But hey, we got a basketball team to support in this Detroit Pistons team. And I think JB Bickerstaff in year number 1 is building a culture and really has built a culture and turning it around. And for as bad as the Pistons were the last several years, to be above 500 at this point in the season and this good on the road. I mean, 12-10 on the road, beating teams like the Houston Rockets, who are second in the West. Man, that's feels really, really good. And it's a joy to cover a team that's playing that well. And it'll be interesting to see what happens at the deadline. Make sure you're checking out Locked On Pistons each and every day with Koo for the latest on that. As always, we want you to subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit as well, because we are your post-game destination. And don't forget, there's a newsletter at lockedondaily.com. Sign up for free using your email. It's LockedOnPistons or LockedOnDaily.com for your free Pistons newsletter. It's always a pleasure to be on the air with you, and we appreciate you for making the Locked On Sports Detroit postcast, in this case, Locked On Pistons postcast, your post-game destination, free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Subscribe, like today's video, share it with a friend, and we'll see you next time on Locked On Sports Detroit. The Pistons beat the Houston Rockets 107-96. They're now 22-21 on the season, 12-10 on the road. Our next Locked On Pistons postcast Wednesday after the Pistons take on the Atlanta Hawks. Until then, have a wonderful evening. Make sure you like today's video and subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit. See you next time.